everyone. This is Jenny, and I am sitting on the step overlooking the village where I am in a place called Jardín, Antioquia in Colombia, South America. I have a long history of being here in this place, and it's very symbolic that I'm sitting here on the step overlooking this place, leading these recordings, especially since in 2 weeks from today I'll be on my way to Medellin to fly out and go back to the States, which I explained in my other recording. And I want to talk to you about the process of writing a book. I've had a lot of people ask me questions, but I am in no way an expert, a best-selling author of 10 published books with all these qualifications. No, but I am qualified. I just had this experience, and I want to share it. Maybe it can help someone with the writing process. I just recently launched my memoir. My memoir is called The Other Side of Fear, a backpacker's memoir by Jenny Rivas. And, for those of you who know me, I took off, I arrived at Colombia for the first time on a one-way ticket on June 11th of 2017. And I had an open ticket, and I didn't know where my life was going to lead me at that time. And a lot of people asked me, why'd you choose Jardín? Why'd you go there? What was going on in the States that made you want to leave? And all that came out in my book. And all the reasons why and how I ended up here, and the things that have happened here along my life path, all the times I've come back, and the things I've gone through on my journey that have always brought me back here. And so if you want to know more about it, listen to my book. My book's available on audio, via YouTube here. Also, the link to buy it's available on Amazon, as well as many other platforms, available in ebook and paperback. The link is in the comments to this video if you want to check it out. It's got 50 reviews now on Amazon. I'm sure by the end of the year we'll have about 100. It's been a wonderful success. I had very powerful feedback about it. Not all good, because I spoke some truths, and a lot of people don't like that. It makes them look at their own truths, and they don't want to see them. So when you write your memoir, and people ask me, about writing a book, and as far as writing a novel or a mystery or whatever, I have no idea. I would love to write a novel. I have an idea about a novel I want to write, but it's not time yet. So as far as writing a memoir, I really struggled. So when the pandemic hit, as well, as you know this, if you read my book, I talk about this in chapter 28 and 29, and then leading into chapter 30, and touched on it in the first 3 chapters of my book as well, to lead you into how I got to where I was at the end. I knew the 3 years I backpacked around, I was gathering data from cultures, from systems, from people, about myself, the healing, and every place I went and traveled, I went to 6 different countries and just hundreds of different cities, deserts, villages, beach towns, all the strangers that I talked to along the way, all the glasses of wine on rooftops under the stars, conversations with strangers that showed me a different piece of myself. They all gave me a mirror to look into me and figure it out. And so when the pandemic hit and I was stuck in, it was terrifying. You all know, if you read the first 3 chapters of my book, was absolutely terrifying to be a foreigner in a strange country and have the world catch on fire. Got smuggled out of a village where we were being threatened for being foreigners, and then was in Bogota, and then tried to leave the country. It was at 4 different times or 5 different times, and finally I decided to stay because I realized it just wasn't flowing, and so I was at that hostel by myself. And I couldn't go on this road adventure on the outside of me like I had done for, 3 years. I couldn't, because everything was shut down. And for the first time, I had all this downtime. And I was just in a little cozy nook in my own room at this hostel. This hostel was amazing, Hostel Messiah, and the people there were just incredible. And the friendships I made with people that became my family, people in my path. We were all stuck in lockdown together from different countries and couldn't go out and do anything really, except, 1 hour a day, maybe twice a week to go get essentials. And we were just in lockdown. We cooked together, ate together, had karaoke nights together, game nights, morning coffee, did exercises and yoga with what we had available to do it, in lockdown together. And all this time I spent in my room by myself, I was like, I had nothing to do but go inside of me. And I feel it. And if you feel called to write a book, you know what I mean. There's a reason why you want to connect to it. There's a reason why. So my first piece of advice for you, when you want to start thinking about writing a book, connect to your why. What's your why? Why do you want to write a book? Connect to your purpose. there's something that you want your readers to get and carry away from it. There's something that your soul wants to give to the world. I will say I listened to a ton of videos. Also, during that downtime, I started Googling YouTube videos about writing a memoir because I knew that my story was a powerful one, and I knew that there were going to be truths that I was going to share that were going to rock other people's worlds. And that was the hardest thing. You know, I knew that I needed to tell the truth about what happened with my mom. When she had an affair with my boyfriend behind my back. And that was something that I've never really talked openly about for a lot of different reasons, which I'll get into in a different audio and deeper in writing my next book, as far as how intertwined it is when you go through family trauma and people are still a part of your life. What you want to tell your truth, but how do you tell your truth when your truth is going to expose other people on their dirty laundry, but at the same time you want to own your story. Those things happened. Like I'm saying, these things happened to me and they impacted me in a way that changed me forever. And I really struggled with telling that. I felt this loyalty to my mom, and I was scared to death to talk about it because I was scared that people will look at her differently or judge her. And it was so hard. And then going through and then telling the truth about, when I was 20 years old and when I was 20 and surviving a kidnapping and a sexual assault. That R word that doesn't bother me to say anymore, the 4-letter R word, I just want to give people a warning before I just say it because it's such a harsh word and it's something so fucking personal to people who have been through it. But to talk openly about rape and put myself out there in a way, because I know that I'm not the only woman who's gone through this, right? And I'm not the only woman who's gone through years of sexual abuse in my childhood from a male family member that was close, and going through a mental crisis in my adolescence because of this abuse and having everything hidden and living a lie our whole lives. And my God, what's going to happen? I mean, I had to rewrite my memoir so many times because I eliminated these things at first. And some people that are very close to me in my life who have always known my truths, not all of them, said, someone gave me a piece of advice that said, you're not really helping readers to the fullness that you feel called to because you're not telling your whole truth. And that's not really going to help people in the fullest capacity. And if your purpose of writing this is your own process of liberation, and it's also to help other people, you have to be real. The world does not need any more watered down truth. It needs truth. Tell the truth. Tell your story. And if other people choose to look at the characters in your book differently, that's their decision to judge, not mine. I'm not the only person who's gone through trauma with my mom. I'm not the only person who has gone through that or had a toxic relationship with a family member or who was raped as a child, who's gone through really heavy, fucked up things in childhood. I'm not the only one. And the culture of abuse, it's not just about changing the culture of rape and abuse and patriarchy and oppression and things like that. It's about killing silence. It's about saying these things happened to me. And for me, writing them, and tell you guys, when you write your story, you own it. And I will tell you, when I was writing, I kept asking myself, but what led me there? But how did I get there? But what led me there? And I sat with myself in every stage of those, with every piece of myself during those stages of my life, and owning it and feeling, and I mean, I know that I told harsh truths about my mom and my dad and my rapist when I was 20, the guy that did serve 10 years in prison and is released now and still living in Oklahoma City, actually lives in Blanchard. God, how terrifying is that to go back to Oklahoma? I knew going through, the YouTube videos that I listened to, first of all, my first piece of advice that I shared was connecting to your why. Connecting to your why, okay? And then realizing I have to tell. I mean, it's going to help so many women. I'm not, and men too. But you can get your life back. But in order for me to get all my life back, I had to go through every piece of my story and really sit with myself and all those emotions. Because they're still there. I'm still working through stuff at the deepest level of my childhood. That's a lot of stuff in there still I got to work through. And
I listened to a lot of YouTube videos, and some of them said, tell the whole truth. You can't worry about what people think about your family or your friends, or you have to own your story. It is your story, and the people who are meant to be in your life on the other side will be there. And those who don't like what you have to say, or don't like that the truth was published about them, they also have the freedom to write their own story of how they remember things and what their truth is. And that's on them. They can do that. Just like I have the responsibility to tell my own story. And why is it important to do that? Because it's mine. Because it makes you own it. Because for so long, people would say, what made you want to travel? And what made you want to do these things? And I knew that as I was traveling, I was getting my power back from so much sexual assault from the time I was a little girl. I was facing monsters that had chased me for so long, subconsciously, because of my dad and my childhood, and because of being raped at, God, how many years of my life, and different rapists, the power of what it means to be kidnapped and escape something so horrible and think you're going to die, but have a second chance of life, and then have the courage to say, well, if those things can happen around the corner in my hometown, well, then what the fuck am I going to be scared of traveling abroad? Fucking bring it on. I've lived through the hardest things in my life I'm ever going to goddamn go through. So what am I scared of going forward? And so when I'm traveling, people were like, oh, what made you want to just pick up your backpack and travel for 3 years? And for the longest time, I was just like, I had to tell my story. Well, I went through kidnapping and raping when I was 20 years old. What? But I was so ashamed of it for a long time. Well, I don't want to make other people uncomfortable because these things are hard to hear and hard to talk about. But that was me maintaining the shame of what happened. And for me to say, I don't carry shame about these things anymore. These things happened to me, but these things aren't me. And the people that passed through my life that did incest and rape and abuse, or cut me down, manipulate, gaslight, whatever, had nothing to do with me, had everything to do with their own wounds. So for me to take my own power back and put those pieces back into who I am, and integrate those pieces of myself and rewire those things, really getting down deep, it made me think. The writing process made me think. Really look hard in the mirror of the belief systems that I do have about myself, about life, about love, about men, about money, about what I deserve, about stability, about my life's purpose. It made me really get down deep and look in the mirror of what do I really believe about these things, because beliefs are just thoughts that you continue to think, and you can change them. But in order to change them, you have to know what they are. And then I've been able to figure out, I believe that there's never enough money. Think about, where did the root of that belief come from? A lot of these things, most of them come from our childhood. The things that we're programmed to think about life, about politics, about system, about race, about religion, about money, about finances, about our worth, about spirituality. All of that comes from, we have to go and analyze every bit of who we are and say, okay, well, those belief systems were implanted in me because of my environment when I was a kid, but where am I at now? What I really believe about life, is that belief system really attracting a life of abundance? Is it really attracting the things that I deserve to live with my life? And I realized that I had a lot of belief systems that were not serving me. And writing my book helped me with that. It helped me get through, it helped with the healing part of it. And so when people say, I want to write a book, but I don't want to start. Well, I did work with a book coach. First of all, I did see some videos that said, go for it, tell the whole truth. Other videos that said, with authors that are well published, best sellers, years in the industry, numbers of books, which doesn't necessarily make anyone more qualified to have all those things, right? But hearing them say, don't say the truth on those things. Don't tell the whole truth, because once you say those things, you can't take them back, and that could forever impact your relationship with that person if those things are, quote unquote, dirty laundry is aired. And something in that with me just did not resonate. It just didn't resonate. And I was in that hostel during lockdown, and I was writing the first 3 chapters of my book. Originally, the book was going to start with the rape chapter. And I wrote the rape chapter, and what was going on after that chapter, it was chapter 5, 6, and 7 that are now in my book, were originally the first 3 chapters. And I was just like, I'm not telling the whole truth if I don't tell about what happened with my mom, because it impacted me just as deeply and as severely as the rape did. And it happened right before the rape happened. I found out my mom was having an affair with my boyfriend behind my back, and things that I've never really talked about with anyone, I've never really worked through with her. But if I'm going to write my memoir, I feel like a lot of women need to hear the story. A lot of people need to hear the story. That it doesn't matter what happens to you. You can choose to take those pieces and put them back together in the way that you want to. But in order to talk about how to do that, I need to tell about all of my pieces. Because for the longest time, I was like, I don't know what to do with these pieces. And in order to really work through and be vulnerable openly with sharing my story, I've got to unveil the truth about all these pieces, and I can help other women who have these pieces too, but to help them, I've got to talk about mine, and I've got to be vulnerable, and I can't worry about whether my mom likes that I said that or whether she agrees with how I told my story. She can tell her own story. That's her story to tell. That's her emotional process. She's in charge of her own emotional state. How she chooses to deal with it is her freedom, and it has nothing to do with me. My responsibility is being loyal to me 110% at all costs. And a lot of people aren't going to like that. And that's okay. At the end of the day, I'm with me. I look in the mirror. And then I had a friend recommend a book coach. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to work with a book coach. I'm ready to start piecing this together. And she's wonderful and she's very successful. But didn't resonate with the way that she was wanting to do things, like as far as make an outline, like an order of chapters. Something else that she said that really just, she said, it was like a video chat with other women, right? It was like a special deal she was going to do like a workshop, a weekend workshop, and it was a discounted deal to get people to join on a Zoom call and talk about writing a book. And it was a great exposure to how someone else does things. When she said, but another thing that just really did not resonate with me was when she said, if you want to write a memoir, make sure that you're at the other side of your healing before you share your story. Otherwise, you're not going to really, truly help people in the fullest potential. You're just going to help them stay stuck in that emotional vibration of not being healed and stuff. And I just don't agree with that. I thought, man, there are things that I'm still working through. It may take another year, 2 or 5, or maybe even the rest of my life to be working through at deeper levels because I'm consistently growing and expanding. But what if we're never going to get to that end point? Why am I not worthy now? Why is my story can help people now? And I would rather expose the truth at the most vulnerable level and say, I'm fucking human. I haven't figured it all out yet. I haven't. But I'm willing to share my story at a very vulnerable and open level so that we can all work through it together. You know, we may never get to the other side of it, but damn it, I'm going to try. Because I know that that's the key to really being happy and living the life of my dreams, and I deserve that, and I know that now. And so as far as advice for writing a book, when people are like, oh, I don't know what, I kept getting gummed up because I put pressure on myself to have an outline, and I did not follow anything that anyone suggested. So my advice to you is let your heart lead you. There's nothing more beautiful than what you have inside of your heart and your soul and your inner being, and it wants to tell a story. And what I did was just free write. I asked myself in the morning, I would write. Morning time is my most powerful time. I wake up and before I reach for my phone, no social media, no WhatsApp, no nothing, no Insta. It's me being with myself in my solitude, shutting the door to my room. It's completely dark in my room when I shut the door. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It's very dark. I love it. Shut the door to my room, light a candle, and be simply with myself and listen. When I was writing, I would say, what do I really feel like I want to write about today? And so I would just start journaling openly. I would just write freely. Oh, I want to write about the time that... And then I would start to think, oh, but I have to tell about how I got there. And then I would say, don't complicate it. That'll come. That'll come. That'll come. And I was scared to death because I didn't put an outline, guys. I did not put an outline for my book. I let my heart and my soul guide me. And I will tell you, I promise, oh my gosh, please feel my soul right now. When I tell you, can you hear the nature right now, by the way? I'm in the mountains. I want to do this here with you. Please hear my soul when I say, trust yourself. Your inner being never leads you wrong. And I just let my inner being lead me. And I will tell you, it was the most miraculously amazing process when I would just do free writing. And I would write until my soul would say, okay, that's all I have to say about that. And it was rough. It was very rough. Oh, it was a mess. It was paint splattered on canvas, okay? And then I would write, and then my soul would say, okay, I want to take a day off for a couple days. I want to do soul work. I just want to read a book about, healing family trauma, or reading a book about something else, or being with myself in the park and just ruminate about my experiences or whatever. And then my soul, and I would be scared. I would think, well, what happens if I take a day or 2 off and then I lose interest in my book? And then it's just one more project I never finished that's just looming over there. But I again reminded myself, align with you, listen to your soul. If it's asking for a day off, take it. Charge your batteries, go out in the sun of the park, go for walks, go take a book to, to the lake and go sit and read. Meet up with friends, go sing karaoke. Do something that fills your heart and your soul that is not related to your work. Get away from it. And guys, my soul led me right back to my book every time. Without having an outline, without really having super, super deadlines. I just kind of put a vague deadline. I just let my soul lead me through the process. And I will tell you, it was the most magnificent thing that happened. When I got to a point where I was like, okay, I feel like I've written the big things that I want to share. Now let's look at a bird's eye view above, and let's look at things that link, okay? So then I would look at it, and then I would kind of link them and say, okay, this big incident, this right here needs to be in a chapter by itself. Okay, and then I could divide those bigger pieces of writing into chapters. And then I could kind of see it developing, right? And at that time, I still didn't have an outline. I was like, okay, I know this is going to be chapter 5. Okay, this is going to be chapter 6. Well, I think this is going to be, and I would just kind of put it in order. And then when I got my rough draft order of things done, I got it to my developmental editor. Absolutely incredible. Kristen, her talent and all my work, my work would not have been what it is without her. And I wrote to the point where I was like, okay, I don't know how much more I can put into this. I put my whole soul in there. It was so emotional to share those things. It was not only all the work of writing, but it was all the work of feeling it while I wrote it and really putting my whole being into it. My whole soul, guys. Me, my soul. That is my imprint in the world. It is a big deal. And then having her say, okay, giving her feedback on my writing and then giving it back and saying, okay, redo all the stuff. Like, holy shit, how many more edits? Putting more of my soul into it. And then agreeing that, man, I don't really want to start the book with the rape chapter because I don't want people to read and just go right into this emotion of sexual assault and then never read anything else after that and get all the treasures from it because I have some really big things to give. So it was, and then her giving it back and then me just saying, oh my gosh, I think I realized I want to start my book with what is now, at that time, it was the end of my book. Getting stuck in lockdown, being in Argentina, going back to Colombia, going backpacking, peeing from a banana leaf, getting stuck in horrible experiences in that awful village, Villa de Leyva, how I got there, what happened, how I got smuggled out, the pandemic hitting and all that stuff, and I was just like, it just hit me. I was like, I need to start my book with that because I want readers to connect with my free spirit as a backpacker, and it leaves this open question of, well, how did she get there? And then I can open the door to say, let me tell you my story, and then go into the heavy stuff, right? And then so once I rearranged the order of the book, gave it back to my editor, then she, read through it and then edited it again, and then I had to restructure a lot of things to make it conducive for a different order. Also, from a marketing perspective, to pull readers in and really connect them to my story. And then it was like, oh, well, you need to write a couple more chapters to link these different events differently since we changed the order. So then I had to write a couple more chapters. Oh my God, it was so much. But I will tell you guys, let your heart lead you. Don't worry about how other people are saying to do it. That's my biggest thing that I want to give to you is trust your heart and your soul. Your inner being knows. If your inner being is asking you to write your story or asking you to write a book, there's a reason why your soul is calling you to it. There's a reason why, and it is asking to say something through you to the world. I was also told by a lot of people, like YouTube videos and also my book coach that I worked with very briefly, was you need to have a target audience of a certain group of people that you're writing this book for so that you can sell it in a certain market. And I did not follow that guideline. I went against what everything else said. And I said, I'm not worried about what mainstream people have to say. I'm not worried about how all these other people did what they did. My story is mine. My style is mine. My talent is mine. My energy and my spiritual gifts are mine. And I am going to let my soul lead me and just spill my soul out on this paper. And whoever it's supposed to reach, it will. And I would rather use the law of attraction to attract people to me. By connecting with my inner being and letting it pour to the world what it's asking to. So I literally went against everything that people told me to do. I went against the flow. I went my own path. And my editor said she's an avid reader. She reads like 50 or 70 or 80 books a year. I mean, at least one book a week. She's crazy smart. She's incredibly gifted with marketing, with editing, with doing freelance writing and everything. And I would just hit the jackpot by having her invest her talent in my work. And she said she's never read a memoir like mine. I said, how do you think it's going to do as far as sales and reaching readers? Because I was so raw and I just said things how they were, and I did things differently than anyone else did them. And I said, how do you think it's going to go? And she said, I have no idea, because I have never read a book like this, and I have never read a memoir like this ever in all of my hundreds of books I've read. So we'll just launch it and see how it goes. And so that's my advice, is let your soul lead you. 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 Don't put pressure on yourself. That does not help you write a book. It's letting your soul lead you. What is the story you want to tell? You know, if you were telling a story through a character, imagine connecting with that character and just taking time to go to your happy place, creating a sacred place that nobody has permission to access. That's my third piece of advice. Create a space for yourself that nobody has permission to access. That is you setting boundaries with your energy field, with your phone, with your time, with people having access to where you are. That means if that's a desk in a corner that you can't close yourself in, if that's a closet that you can sit in and close the door and put your phone on airplane mode and tell people, for 30 minutes, I am inaccessible. Put yourself in your own world, and you can do that anywhere. I did that. I would go to the bars. I don't drink alcohol, but I want to get out of the house, so I would walk. Our local pub's like an hour away. And I would bring a couple tea light candles and my earbuds and my journal and my phone and my cigarettes. And I would listen to meditation music that really inspired me to write. And I can put the link in the comments to the YouTube, the meditation video that I loved, that guided me through my whole writing process. And I will put that on the link below this video, or below this podcast. I would put that in there, and it didn't matter who was in the bar. People just knew I was writing. I was in my world. Everyone else was drinking alcohol and smoking and doing shots and smoking their weed pens or whatever. It didn't matter what anyone else is doing. It has nothing to do with me. I want to be sitting here, put my earbuds in, listen to my meditation music, light a candle, not drink in a bar, drink a Red Bull or a soda water with lemon and lime, have my cigarettes, and I just want to pour my heart and my soul into my writing. And you can do that anywhere. That's your power to set that boundary. You are empowered anywhere you are. I can't imagine doing it with kids. I can't advise you on that. I have no idea. Don't have kids. Will never have kids. So I don't know how to do that with kids in the house. But if that's you walking down the street to the park, whatever that means for you, giving yourself that sacred space and giving yourself permission to unconditionally accept yourself in every stage of your writing. I realized writing that I still had a lot of anger and resentment towards a lot of these people, and writing about it helped me. It helped me release it. It helped me see also writing the truth about my own self, my own mistakes, drug addiction, having a year of crazy, infinite amounts of meaningless sex with so many people because of my rape and my drugs, and I didn't care about me, and writing about that, Jesus Christ, to the world. Setting that off, talking about my drug addiction and all the harm that I caused to other people. My bankruptcy, how I hurt others, and me owning that and being like, man, and that really helped me say, man, I did those things because I was hurt, and I did the best I could with where I was. And it also helped me see that the people that I wrote about that hurt me, they also did the best that they could do with where they were at. And I don't deserve a life sentence. I deserve to be free. So why not expect others to also, why not release them too? I realized it had nothing to do with me, and I deserve to live my life of freedom and letting it go. And writing helped me with that as well. And so if you're thinking about writing your memoir, there's a reason why you want to write it. You've been through something. It's something that my book coach did say that really resonated with me in a way that I took with me was, once you get on the other side of something, you overcome it, you survive it, and you've come to a point of thriving. From surviving to thriving is a big difference. You owe it to share it. Like, you need to help other people. You've lived through it for a reason. You need to share it. And I was like, well, God, look at all the things I've overcome that a lot of people never recover from. All of my abusers, I've had so many through my childhood and then in my adulthood. And then because I didn't heal, I was repeating a cycle of abuse by my choice with drugs and abusive relationships and choosing people that were like my abusers because of the mirror I gave, because of my fractures in my soul. And saying, wow, I really have the power to heal all these things and live the life of my dreams and be happy And that's my story. And so there's a reason why if you feel led to write your story, you don't have to think about, don't bog it down with, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. Oh my gosh, I don't know. The very first chapter that I read of my book was chapter 5, which originally was chapter 1, the rape chapter. And I knew what I wanted to name it. It was all right there in my soul. And I spilled it, and I cried, and I felt every bit of it. I still smelled it. I just went through it. And it helped me get my power back, owning all of the story and putting sunlight on it, saying this isn't in the dark anymore. These things happened to me. These are the reasons why I traveled. These dark things have led me to this light of wonderful light and beauty and adventure and exploring my own self. Like, my pain was a gift, and I say that in my acknowledgments. Like, to everyone who's ever come through my life and damaged me or broken pieces in some way, thank you. Because it's given me a reason to reach down inside of me and dig deeper than I ever would have had I not gone through suffering. And you can use it for your better. You can use it for your better and become, you can put yourself into a place of power in a healthy way. So that's why I wanted to release my story, and I'll have more audios about that as well. My why. What's your why? Connect with your why. Connect with your why is my first piece of advice. And I had to do that several times through my book when I would get bogged down and think, God, I don't know. Oh, I don't know about sharing this, or I don't know I don't know, when I needed guidance. What should I share and what should I not? Because I had to leave out a lot of things. I didn't even share all of what I could have, because it would have been a 500-page book. And so I had to I had to go back and ask myself, what's my why? What's your why? Why do you want to share that? And connect it with your outcome. What do you want readers to take? What's the purpose behind sharing this? What does it have to do in alignment with your story? And I kept asking myself, why? Go back to your why. And it would pull me back into be in alignment with my story. And my why had all the answers. And all that was in me. It was already inside of me. I didn't need a PhD. I didn't need to pay hundreds of dollars for book coaching or for a publisher to guide me through the process. It was all in me. And it is also all in you. It is all in you. It is all in you. And you just have to learn to take time to listen to you. Every answer that you ever need for anything in your life is in you. All your answers for success, for happiness, for love, for healing, for freedom, it is all in you. It is all in you. It does not depend on anyone else coming in and unlocking that door for you. It's all in you. And that's a hard truth to accept, because it was hard for me, because that meant that I could put myself into a place of complete power with my life, and that meant taking responsibility, and that's hard. And for a lot of reasons, and I'll get deeper into that later, and other pieces of writing and audios. And so I challenge you, and I also wanted to do things my own way to show people that you can do things your own way. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Let your soul guide you. Don't worry about how they're doing it. Let your soul guide you. And so, number 1, what's your why? Connect to your why. Number 2, do what your soul is calling you to do. No matter what, in the face of who is going to think what about it. Be loyal to you. All the answers are in your soul. So connect. And number 3 was create that sacred space for yourself to listen. And everything will unfold. It doesn't matter what book you're trying to write. It doesn't matter. If you're trying to write a mystery or a novel or a self-help book or a recipe book or whatever, all those answers are in you. Let your soul lead you through it, and just allow yourself to be surprised and delighted about what flows out when you give yourself that sacred space and that love, and you just sit back and let yourself create. And that's what I learned how to do. So I hope that helps. Write your story. Get your story out. Gosh, every single human being is so important, guys. Every single human being has a story about why they see the world the way that they do. And nobody is more wrong or right than the other, okay? So everyone has a story. Everyone deserves to tell their story. Everyone deserves to be heard and loved and validated for why they see the world the way that they do. You don't have to agree with someone to love them. You don't have to agree with someone to accept them unconditionally. With their story and their world ain't got nothing to do with you. It's their story. And there's something so huge that comes with just validating one another. So, I think that's it for this audio as far as the process of writing a memoir. If you're self-publishing, I'm still figuring out all that. I can't help with that. I'm still figuring out Amazon and Ingram Spark and Kobo and all these other things. And when I get my next books and my series kind of lined up, and I am still writing, I've got material started for book number 2 and a couple of things pieced together for book number 3. It's not time to put them together intensively yet. But create something magic. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. You're here to do you. And just let your color shine to the world, because no one can do you like you, baby, and you are magic. And that's my advice for anything you're trying to create, but especially for your memoir. And connect with your why, connect with your why, connect with your why, connect with your why. And your story's beautiful. It deserves to be heard. If you've overcome significant trauma in your life, getting out of abusive relationships, finding your place of power after abuse, sexual assault, and you found your place of power, and you have a story to give to another woman, and you're interested in having a chapter in one of my later books in my series that other women in other cultures and countries can read and get something from, please reach out to me. Let me know. I would love to work with you. I would love to start piecing together stories like that. That's the whole point of my work. It's to show the world it doesn't matter what you've gone through. It doesn't matter what pieces people have broken in your life along the way. You have the power to take them and put them in the place that you want to put them. You have the power to weed your garden on the inside and plant what you want and get yourself in a place of power. You deserve that. And that does not come from your significant other or waiting for something, the perfect job, or being financially stable. No, you can do all of that inside of yourself right now with whatever you want to do with your life. All that power is inside of you. You just got to go in there. And that's hard. If it were easy, everyone would do it. So anyway, I love you. I believe in you. I see you. I hear you. I validate you. And I'm going to sit here and be still the mountains. I hope that you got something from this outpouring of my soul. And I will talk to you soon. Ciao.